You're about to see a conversation that I had with Olivia. Olivia graduated from USC last year, and as an undergrad, she majored in biomedical engineering with an emphasis in mechanical engineering and a minor in dance. I need to look at my notes to remember all of this. And she's currently in an accelerated master's program in mechanical engineering at USC. And we happened to have our conversation right as she's on that cusp of graduating from her master's program and heading into her first job. So it was a really pivotal kind of transitional moment that we had this conversation. I'd say the main theme of the conversation is anxiety, with kind of the themes related to anxiety that we talked about. One, passion doesn't protect you from burnout. Two, you don't need to quit. You just need to slow down. Three, in a particular moment, Olivia talked about having this tension throughout her life of, is this ambition that's causing me to feel excited and that is giving me kind of this driving force that's taking me forward? Or is this anxiety that's coming from a place of fear and that is draining me? And how can I tell who is in the driver's seat? How can I tell if this is anxiety in the driver's seat or if this is ambition in the driver's seat? So, as a reminder, if you are struggling with anxiety as a teen or as a college student, we have an online program that can help you. It's an anxiety program designed specifically for you, and it's designed to help you move forward with the next steps in your education, your friendships, or your career. The next step is to share the link with your parents for our free parent training. And that link is down in the pinned comment below. It's also in the description for this video. So when you send that free training link to your parents, they're going to learn 3 keys for helping you move forward. And they're also going to learn more about our anxiety program so that they can discern whether it's a good fit for you and whether they should take that next step of enrolling you in our program. So you, of course, are always welcome to watch the video as well. As a student, you're more than welcome. In fact, I would be thrilled if you watch it. I just want you to know ahead of time, I'm talking to parents in the training because they tend to be the people who connect you with the program, and they tend to be the people who take that next step to enroll you. So check it out. And without further ado, here's the conversation with Olivia. Hi, Olivia. Thanks for being with us here on the YouTube channel.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And I always start off these conversations just by giving people some context for, who you are, who I am, and what this conversation is all about. So although I am a psychologist, my name is Dr. Park, everyone, by the way, who's never seen this before. I'm a psychologist. I've been doing therapy with teens and college students for about 20 years now. And the entire purpose of this YouTube channel is to give people mental health tools and tips and resources and share real stories. But this conversation between Olivia and I is not therapy. Olivia is not my therapy client. And we're just here to have fun and give you an opportunity to share your story, Olivia. So, the purpose of these conversations is that anyone who's watching these, hopefully it gives you hope and it helps you see that you're not alone. So, Olivia, I actually might want to start with, before we were recording, you shared a story with me about kind of an early memory of anxiety and when you and your family first realized that you were struggling with anxiety. And I'm only smiling because it was a really cute image of you doing ballet in 3rd grade. So would you mind just sharing that story with us?
Yes. So the moment I realized I had anxiety was when I was in 3rd grade and I was in a dance class on Halloween and I was in a Bumblebee costume and I was buzzing around with a lot of anxiety for some reason and was just predicting these scenarios that my mom was not going to pick me up from dance class. So I fully broke down in tears. There were still 30 minutes of class left and I fully broke down in tears that my mom wasn't going to pick me up. Had to call her. She showed up. And from that point on, for at least a year, I would say, I was dancing 8 to 12 hours a week. My mom was able to work remotely and would sit by the window that I would be able to see her during my dance classes because I would get so anxious and just fully
Mhm.
break down if I didn't know that she was there. So I'm very lucky that I had a great and supporting family during this time. But yeah, that's when I knew that I was an anxious girly.
Yeah, and it is a vivid memory and a very, like, distinct one. I mean, I'm
Mhm,
smiling as you were telling it before because it's just a very cute image of you in, like, your Bumblebee ballet outfit, but
mhm.
it is quite amazing that your mom was able to work remotely and, like, sit outside the window for that many hours a week of dance class for you, and it does seem like that kind of support can make a huge difference.
It has,
So,
yeah.
I mean, you and I are just getting to know each other for the first time here today. We've never met before, so I'm just going to be kind of improving and flowing with this conversation. But one of the themes I noticed, like even in that kind of origin story of anxiety, is like separation. And has that been a theme of your anxiety, or has it been more like you said, like scenarios that you were imagining that could happen?
It's been scenarios, just scenarios
Okay.
and predicting things that aren't gonna happen. Because I feel like it was never I didn't think my mom didn't care enough to pick me up or anything like that. For some reason, I was like, "Something's gonna happen to her," or,
Mhm.
like, "The world works in weird ways and something's gonna happen."
Okay. So your anxiety has this flavor of like your imagination turning on you, and you imagine scenarios that could happen,
Mhm.
and I want to say usually don't.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. I think one of the hard things about this, and I'm thinking of a friend of mine who's an adult now, but I'm also thinking of some of my therapy clients, is that there is the rare occasion where the feared thing happens.
Mhm.
Have you ever run into that? Or is it always that your anxiety is lying to you?
It has I would say in most cases, majorly that it's my anxiety's always been lying to me.
Okay. I'm really glad to hear that. That's less complicated than some of the
Yeah.
situations that I've heard about from people. But
Mhm.
so if your anxiety is usually lying to you, that reminds me of this saying that anxiety is sometimes the shadow of intelligence. And I happen to know that
Ooh,
you're,
I like that.
have you ever heard that before?
I actually have not heard that before. I really like that.
Yeah. And I'd like to flex a bit about how you are a grad student. And if you feel comfortable sharing, like, can you give
Yeah,
people
yeah, of
some
course.
context for, um, you were sharing a little bit about your research before I recorded, and it was really fascinating. And I'd like to tie that in with this shadow of intelligence idea. So, can you just share a bit about where you're at in your education journey and your research?
Yeah, so I just graduated last May at USC doing my undergrad in biomedical engineering with a mechanical engineering emphasis. And I worked in a research lab called the Applied Movement and Pain Lab at USC, specifically working on chronic pain therapy, specifically chronic pain, and then also for some reason it used to be about it started as brain stimulation, non-invasive brain stimulation, and then my lab director wanted to go into this realm of how surfing has helped his chronic pain. So we developed this surf therapy for chronic pain patients, as well as turning it into a virtual reality simulation for maybe other populations that can't physically go to the beach. And so that has led me to where I'm currently at, which I'm doing an accelerated master's program in mechanical engineering at USC and developing virtual reality hardware, like haptic feedback gloves for our virtual reality system. I know that was a mouthful and a lot.
It's
Um,
amazing. And the
oh, and I
haptic.
did a dance minor. Forgot to add
Oh
that. I
yeah,
did a
and
dance
that
minor at USC
and
as
that.
well.
Yeah.
That's a separate.
Yeah. I think it's a safe assumption that you're a very intelligent person. Um, the haptic gloves you were telling me earlier would simulate someone, like, putting their hands in water?
Yeah, basically, we have a surfboard on top of a motion platform, and if this person is sitting on the surfboard, when they dip their hands below the surfboard, and when they have the goggles on, so they're seeing that they're dipping their hands in water, it feels like their hands are in water.
That's amazing. And then you are researching how that would study oh, I'm sorry, you were studying how that would impact pain?
Mhm.
That's fascinating. Okay. Um, so this idea then of anxiety as the shadow of intelligence is the idea that people who are intelligent, which I mean, everyone has different forms of intelligence, right? But um, basically, our intelligence can kind of get ahead of us in a way where um, intelligence helps us anticipate threats and helps us protect against threats in different scenarios that might come about, right? But
Mhm.
that can get blurred with anxiety because anxiety can serve like a similar purpose. So, um, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but do you resonate with that idea at all?
I definitely, yes. Very, very powerful words.
Yeah. And before we started recording, you were sort of talking too about this idea of anxiety and ambition. And can you kind of unpack those themes a little bit for us?
Yeah, I feel like specifically this past year, I've really thought about, am I ambitious or am I just anxious? Because I feel like ambition is about what am I excited to do? And then
Mhm.
anxiety is like, if I don't do this perfectly, it's all going to fall apart. And so I feel like in post grad, like post undergrad, doing my master's now and finding a job and career and getting my life together, it's been a thing where I'm like realizing the things that I'm doing. That is it driven by ambition? Is it energizing me, or is it anxiety and it's draining me and I'm burning out?
Okay. Is it ambition and it's energizing me, in which case I'm excited, or is it anxiety and it's draining me and I'm burning out?
Hmm.
Okay. Do you look at it that way as like it's one or the other?
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be a mix of both, but I feel like at least I've been trying to find a balance with everything that I'm doing, whether that's like with dance and engineering, and trying not to tell myself I have to stop one thing. It's just that I
Mhm.
need to slow it down and change up the schedule a little bit and change up the pace. I can still do what I love to do. And I think it's also maybe a separate conversation we can have, but just about how passion, um, I feel like people don't think burnout can come from something you're passionate about. Like burnout is usually
Mm.
because, you know, I don't want to do this homework for this class I don't like. But burnout can also come from doing something that you love to do. And it's just deciding maybe you need to slow it down.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think we can, and it's my personal opinion, but I think we can burn out doing things that we're fully passionate about and that we freely chose and that we were excited about at the beginning, right?
Hmm.
Would you say that has been part of your experience of trying to navigate some burnout as well?
Yes.
Mhm. How has that shown up for you? How have you noticed that?
Yeah, I feel like in undergrad, I was taking at least 2 dance classes a week because it was part of my curriculum, and so I was able to have the engineering and the dance. But then now in my accelerated master's, it's been a lot of school, a lot of research, and so I haven't really had time to fit dance in. But at least this semester, I've found a way where I let myself take at least 1 dance class every 3 weeks or every month, and it's still fulfilling that need and passion and fueling that and not letting it burn out or go away, even though I'm doing it less.
Okay. Okay. So still being able to have dance as part of your life, but having it just slightly less frequently in your month.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that is a really wise adjustment, right? Because you mentioned before we started recording as well, like you've realized that you didn't necessarily need to quit, but you needed to slow down.
Mhm.
How did you come to that realization?
I feel like, well, I think I noticed last semester I wasn't taking any dance classes. I was just focusing on school and definitely was overfilled my plate with like academic wise with a lot of the classes and projects I was doing. Um, and then once the new semester started in January, I told myself I think I need to get back into the groove of things and feel like myself again and try a dance class. And even though I've taken one a month, if anything, I feel like it's more special because it's like that is my limited time where I get to do that. And so I don't know, I've noticed I've been like more excited and energized in my dance classes compared to undergrad because it's more exciting because I also just feel so lucky that I still am able to do this and was able to find a way to still feel fulfilled and the same amount of happy even though I'm doing it less.
Mhm. Yeah, okay, so you still have the fulfillment from dance, even if you're
Mhm.
doing it less frequently.
Mhm.
And I really love that you've been able to find that because I think something I notice that people struggle with in college, especially if they're passionate about something like dance, choir, theater, music, or more specifically, orchestra. It's like they have this passion, right? And they have this love and they have this gift. And sometimes they experiment with, like, that could be my major, which is completely possible. And if that works for that person and their family, like, more power to them. Sometimes they decide to have it as a minor or just take those classes occasionally. Or sometimes they toy with this idea of like, ugh, do I just have to give it up entirely and like work a
Mhm.
cubicle job and like be in a major that I hate? And like, I think you found this wisdom of like, I can still find fulfillment in dance. It's just like, I don't have to do it twice a week. I can do it
Mhm.
once every 3 weeks or once a month, and it can still be this fulfilling part of my life, even if it's not as frequent as it used to be.
Mhm. Like, I feel like I look forward to it more
Mm,
because I don't know, like, I'm like, "Ooh, look at all this that I've gotten done in school and research, and now I get to treat myself," and I don't know, I feel like since I'm doing it less frequently, I want am all like, my body is like, I'm physically more relaxed, like, I'm getting more sleep, I just have a better balance in life, and so I actually, like, am energized to look forward to taking a dance class, and it's not something that I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I need to check this off the list because this is something that I always do."
yeah. Wow. So you can like rekindle your love for it because it just sounds like you're coming from a more like regulated place in your body. You're just more relaxed about it. You're more
Mhm.
excited about it, and you have more to look forward to if it's not like all the time something you have to do, like a to do list or a requirement.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So you also touched on this really powerful theme of like anxiety versus ambition. And here you are working on your master's. Is this like the spring of you working on your master's that I'm catching you in right now?
Yeah, so I graduate in a month. Yeah, it's kinda crazy.
I know. I almost made a joke like, "Don't worry, we'll edit that part out," but no, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
the
no, we
most
don't need
the
to.
most shocking part of the video, she's graduating in a month. Oh,
Clickbait.
yeah, clickbait. That's the thumbnail. Okay, how are you feeling about graduating in a month?
I'm really excited. I'm gonna miss academia a bit since I really did love being in a research lab. I did get a job though, in a research lab in Malibu. I'm gonna be working as an engineer too at HRL Labs in Malibu. So I'm actually really excited because I feel like that fit perfectly for me because it's between research and industry. It's like right between. I'm in their electronics and sensors lab, so really excited to actually start the ball rolling June 16th there. So I don't really get a break after graduating, but I'm really excited. And also, I talked to when I was talking to the team there. It's really interesting is they feel that work life balance is very real. They were like everybody has their engineering plus, like everybody has their they have their job, but then they also have some other side gig or side hustle that they do because they enjoy it, and it's like not it doesn't have to be STEM related. And so I think that is made me actually really excited to graduate and made me feel like everything happens for a reason. It's all leading up the way it needs to be. And like everybody finds their place and finds what fits.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. I was trying to ask you about ambition and anxiety, but then I'm like so excited to hear what you're up to and that you're graduating in a month and that you have this amazing job lined up. Congratulations. That's really
Thank
exciting.
you.
And it sounds like that lab is going to be a really good fit for you, even in terms of your values and the lifestyle that you want as you go into this career, I would say, right? Um,
Mhm.
so, I mean, on the cusp of graduating, where are you at with that theme of like, I guess that tension, kind of anxiety and ambition? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like so I define ambition as possibility and then anxiety as this fear that I'm not going to do it perfectly. And I feel like sometimes I've been feeling that a little bit with my research project because we want to publish a paper, and my PhD mentor is like, you've done so much work. You're going to graduate soon, and everything's going to get done. It's going to get done. And so we don't need to be pulling all nighters anymore. Like, that never needed to happen. Because last week it was really funny. I stayed up till like 4 a.m. And
I'm
this
supposed
shouldn't
to
be like
think
I
that
get a
that's
badge of
funny.
honor. I know. Well, well, it was. I basically just I didn't need to overwork myself as much as I did, and I came to the lab that morning because I told him that it was going to be done. I was like, I'm going to be finished like sewing the hardware onto the gloves like by this day. And he was like, okay, like you can take your time though. It's not like we're not on that big of a timeline. And then I fully was like, I stayed up till 4 a.m. last night. And he's like, why did you do that? And I was like, I don't know why I felt this like anxiety that like I just need to get it done and check it off the list. And then after I like fully regret it that day. I was like, why didn't I not just split this up and finish it out throughout the week? Because now I'm so tired and even more anxious because I'm just so emotionally drained.
Mhm.
And I feel like also I like engineering and being in STEM, it's like a stereotype. It's like, yeah, I always pull all nighters and I'm always like overworking myself. But realistically, like that's not not healthy, and you're not. I feel like anxiety is just about like trying to outrun failure, and so you feel like I need to
Mm.
pull all these all nighters and I need to like get. But at the end of the day, like it's at least I feel like I've noticed like it I like am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, like, and based on the type of person you are, and it's like if you're in engineering and you've already made it this far, like it's gonna get done.
Mhm. Okay, so that's a painful example when I think about staying up till 4 a.m. to I know you were laughing about it, and I get the sense I'm supposed to be laughing about it as well, but I like my sleep, Olivia, and,
Yes,
I would love for you to get your sleep as well, but,
yes.
that seems like a situation where would you say that was more anxiety driving that, staying up till 4 a.m. to finish, or ambition?
It was anxiety. I don't know why. I just felt like I had this pressure to perform and to get it done because I just needed to get it done. It's not like I even had to prove that to anyone. There was no pressure coming from anywhere except for myself. And yeah, that was a full anxiety moment for
Mhm.
me. So
Yeah.
it still has happened like in my master's program. Um, but it's kind of like how, I'm still learning and I'm still growing as a person and it takes time. Um, I feel like once also I get into a career and more of a I feel like education can there's always a lot going on, especially like I've I feel like I've never had like a pause button. Like I've been going to school and then summers in between school, I'm doing internships and then like here I am doing my like second degree and then I'm like gonna go into straight into the workforce. Um, but at least like I think I've learned throughout this last year, like reflecting on my undergrad experience, that I needed to take better care of myself, at least sleep wise, and that at the end of the day, the pressure was not coming from anyone else but myself.
Mm. Yeah, that's a tough one. It wasn't like there were external voices. It doesn't sound like, there's all this pressure from family or professors or mentors that it somehow was internally coming from you. And that doesn't come from nowhere either, right? That doesn't come from a vacuum.
Hmm.
Um, but somehow you've arrived at a point in your life where there's a lot of internal pressure from yourself. And a lot of people in our community who watch this channel are either in high school or in undergrad right now, some probably in grad school as well. maybe middle school. But if you could like be a coach on the shoulder of your undergrad self, what would you have coached yourself to maybe do differently there?
I think I always thought my worth came from what I was able to achieve. And
Mm,
I feel like now I've learned to root it in how I treat myself. And I think that's really important to me. And also, I think in general, whatever you're majoring in, it's not letting your major define you. You are so much more than your major. And I think that was really important to me. And that's why like I found dance as an outlet and some I wasn't just known as the girl that was majoring in engineering. It was more than that. Um, but I think overall it's just balance isn't always about doing less. It's about making room for things that make you feel more alive. And sorry, I'm going all over the place with this message now, but I think there's just a lot of pressure in letting your major define you, and you need to join all these clubs related to your major and do this and all that to like pad up your resume. Um, but I think you just gotta do what you love
mhm.
and stay curious. Yeah, stay curious is how I'm gonna end that message. Stay curious.
Oh my gosh. I feel like every sentence of that message, I want to talk with you like for like 5 hours about it. But I imagine you have limited time and I want you to sleep. But yeah, okay. So we can't tie our worth to our achievements. Don't let your major define you, which is really hard because when we start college, we often feel so much pressure, right? To find our major and to make the
Hmm.
decision. And then you feel so committed and identified with it. But you have matured to that point where you can say in hindsight, like, don't let your major define you. You also added in dance so that you had a sense of fulfillment there. And you weren't just like the engineering person, right?
Hmm.
Um, okay, I'm trying to remember the last two pieces that you said. They were so powerful.
I feel like I was kind of rambling. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm glad that you found them powerful because I felt bad. I was kind of just I was speaking from the heart,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. Okay. Um, yeah, I love it. I feel like it is so easy for us to get our identity tied up in what we do, right? So we can derive our worth and value. I think this is especially intense in Southern California. We can tie our worth and value to what we do, and so that could be our achievements. It could be our grades, our GPA. It could be where we go to school. It could be our major. But you sound like someone who's been through a process of untangling that. And oh, you did mention like your worth comes from how you care for yourself as well.
Hmm.
How were you able to untangle some of those wires that we get crossed? Like, do you remember how you were able to come to the realization, for example, like, don't let your major define you. Your worth is not what you achieve. Make sure to take care of yourself. Balance isn't about doing less necessarily. How did you come to some of these realizations?
Yeah, I feel like from the start going into USC, I feel like I already knew I definitely wanted to keep dance a constant since I literally my junior year of high school had this mindset that I was going to be a dance major. I wanted to go to NYU and that was going to be my path that I wanted to do. And then I took a step back and thought to myself, hold on, why am I taking all these math and science classes? And I'm not taking them because my parents pressured me. Like I genuinely do love them. And so I realized actually I think I like the biomechanics of the body. And that's why I like dance and I like the science behind it because as a dancer, you're a scientist and an artist. And that led me to wanting to do biomedical engineering because I wanted to do prosthetics for dancers originally. Um, and then I think so going into USC, I feel like I already knew like dance was definitely going to be included. But I guess it was to the point of as to what extent, so I don't burn myself out. And I think junior year for me was when I realized I needed to take better care of myself. Because for one, I was just pulling way too many all nighters. Doing I also joined swim club. I'm like a dancer, swimmer, engineer, like swimmer slash surfer. Try because with my surf research, I'm trying to get into surfing.
Heck yeah.
But I feel like I feel like I was doing like two academic clubs and then classes and then a research lab and then kind of took dance out because I was like, this is the time that I need to, pad up my resume. And then I just, at the end of the day, was not taking care of myself. And at the end of the semester, when I came home for a few weeks, I was so exhausted. And I was like, there was no need for me to do that. Like there was like one thing could have been not maybe taken off the plate, but like I could have done like I didn't need to be as involved and felt like I owed so much to it. And so I feel like for me too, it's also figuring out what are you going to prioritize. Um, and I think I was prioritizing way too much where it's not that I feel like I've like felt bad if I wasn't doing all of this stuff. Um, but at the end of the day, like I was not taking care of myself at all and like should have slept a lot more. And I feel like USC also in general, just like or certain colleges as well, it's like this work hard, play hard mindset. It's a thing that like you're gonna be drinking Red Bulls in the library with your friends, like studying really hard, but you really do need to take care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so it sounds like, especially at the end of that particular semester when you went home so exhausted, it sounds like your body was just giving you like so many red flags, right? To be that
Mhm.
exhausted. I think like a week of some tiredness after a semester is a normal college experience, but this sounds like a lot more intense than that in the level of exhaustion that you had. And then in
Mhm.
hindsight, you were like, I didn't need to be doing all of these things at the level that I was doing them. Um,
Mhm.
the prioritizing is a really hard one that I find for college students, high school students as well. How were you able to do that? Because sometimes when I try to have a conversation with someone about prioritizing things, I almost feel like they're looking at me like I'm torturing them to like ask them to
Mhm.
like I'm asking them to
Yeah.
choose between their babies that they love, like how were you able
Mhm.
to prioritize?
For me, it was communication and communicating to my peers and being completely honest about how I was feeling. Like even last week, my PhD, he was like, "Liv, I didn't tell you to stay up till 4 a.m. I did not want you to do that." Like you, and so I feel like at least junior year, it could have been like I could have been honest with my group and been like, "Hey guys, by the way, I'm also doing this, this, and this. Could I maybe not have to make this whole poster?" And like I don't know why I felt like I needed to do something. I feel like just open communication because also people understand. Like especially in college, like everyone, especially I mean when you're in the like I feel like in college at least it is a little more as in you realize everyone like all 4 years like everyone is going through. I feel like in high school there is a difference like maturity level wise, but at least I feel like in college because you have classes with different grade levels, everyone understands. Especially in STEM, I feel like everybody is trauma bonded and understandable, and especially, sorry,
Trauma bonded. Oh no. Okay, continue. Yeah.
um, but as in like we have each other's backs and we all understand, and we all want everyone to be able to like if they want to do that role in the group, like they can, and we will help them get there. But at the same time, we want everybody to be taking care of themselves. And so I feel like at that time, I needed to realize like I needed to just be open about what I was doing because nobody knew like that I was having so much on my plate, and they would have been like, "You're crazy. You need to take a step back."
I feel like this is something that people don't talk about that often when it comes to prioritizing in our lives.
Hmm.
That we actually need to communicate to other people our context of everything else that we have going on. And that is a really great life skill to have as a college student, as a grad student, and a life skill that will serve you well in your career because I think there's an artful way of letting other people know what your capacity is and what you do not have capacity for, and like being able to be communicate that in like a gracious way that people can hear, and it also sets boundaries around your time and your energy.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it was maybe I thought I didn't wanna come off like the weakling in the group, and I didn't want it to sound like I had an excuse, but it's like, even with your passions, you need to set boundaries, and so, yeah, I think I I totally understand, like, how it's hard for people to be like, I should probably bring this up to someone, but I don't want them to think this about me." But at the end of the day, we're all human, and especially, at least I've noticed in STEM, everybody has that same mindset where I think they, like, don't wanna be, like, the weak one in the group, and everybody has to prove themselves, but it's like, at the end of the day, we all are engineering also is very team-based as well, I think just in general, so, yeah. Sorry, that was kind of a spiral.
Yeah, no, we need to do an intervention with all of STEM, just the culture of STEM. But I mean,
Yes.
you're someone who can also bring that into the places you go, right? In your career, you can. I have no doubt you're someone who will be in leadership positions, and we will be able to kind of seed that into the culture of STEM. I don't know, I'm hopeful about that being different in the future than it has been in the past, including in STEM. Um, Gosh, I had so many questions as you were talking. Um, some of the phrases that have stood out to me when you're talking about anxiety in general were like um, outrunning failure and trying to, oh, the fear of not doing it perfectly. How does
Mhm.
that tie in with anxiety that you've experienced?
I feel like I sometimes overthink what the expectations that people have for me are. Not that it like, at the end of the day, like, I know that everything that matters is what matters to me and, like, it's not always about fulfilling someone else's expectations, but at least I feel like I've noticed in some of my work, um, I just overthink like, "Oh, they also probably expected me to do this, right? So I need to spend 2 extra hours doing that." When it's like, "No, they didn't if they didn't directly ask it for you." And also I feel like there's a difference of me wanting to be a people pleaser and be like, "Oh, well, but I'll also do that because, like, that would make things more convenient for them." But if it's not allowing you to take care of yourself, that's when you gotta reflect and pause and check in.
Yeah. Okay. So part of the anxiety has been like the overthinking about what other people might be expecting from you.
Mhm.
And I mean, that can kind of lead to some assumptions sometimes, right? You might assume, for example, that someone would want you to add on 2 extra hours of work or stay up till 4 a.m. And then they're like, I didn't want you to do that, right?
Yeah.
Um, I sometimes like to look at anxiety in a complex, nuanced way where I think one of the hard things I hear in your story, I don't know if this is true, so this is me checking with you, but
Yeah.
are there any ways in which anxiety has actually served you well to get to this point in being like a high achieving grad student at USC?
I think it has. I think it makes me very analytical and have great critical thinking skills. Like, I feel like I will sometimes make up random, like, kind of like when I was in dance class when I was little, like making up these random scenarios in my head that don't exist. But at least, like, when it comes to science, it's like, oh, but what if, like, we switched out this piece of hardware instead and it did, it's just like, I feel like I think about what could happen in a way that others might not sometimes. And so that's where I feel like anxiety has been a blessing for me because I feel like it has helped my brain. Like, I'm always thinking, I always want my brain to be moving inside and outside of the classroom. Um, but I think at some point you need to realize what's driving the car. Is it anxiety? Is it ambition? Am I doing it because I feel this unknown pressure, or is it because I'm curious and I actually do want to spend those extra 2 hours doing that and I'm enjoying this?
Mhm. Yes. And I do want to say we need people in this world who are going to think about the things that could happen. We need people in this world who will anticipate and protect against, for example, harms that could come to people from scientific research, right? So, I want the world to have more people like you. I just don't want them to suffer with anxiety in the process.
Yes.
So I sometimes talk with people about how, like, I want them to be able to use their imagination to anticipate bad things that could happen, but in a life giving way rather than a destructive way for them. I love the metaphor of like what is driving the car. Uh, is my anxiety in the driver's seat right now? Is my ambition in the driver's seat right now? Do you have a way yet of distinguishing that in the moment? When you're in the moment, are you able to be like, is this anxiety? Is this ambition? Is it a mix of both? Or can you only see it after the moment has passed, like in hindsight?
I feel like at least, well, in that scenario last week, I honestly think I was, it was kind of ambition. I feel like I was already in the groove. I was sewing and I was like, you know what? Let's just keep going. I'm going to listen to this whole album and like I want to finish. And so I was just like in the groove of things. And then I was like, oh, wait, it's 4 a.m. Girl, you got to wake up in like less than 6 hours. You shouldn't have done that. I think sometimes I'll catch myself in the moment. Um, but sometimes it will be like post it already happening and I'm noticing that I am not feeling like myself and something's off. And then I'm kind of realizing, okay, here is the result of something that I could have prevented.
Mhm. So that experience of staying up till 4 a.m., even in hindsight, sounds like a mix of anxiety and
It was a
ambition
mix.
because we've talked about both related to that. So I'm like, okay, so it was a mix, which is hard, right? It's hard when there's a mix because you might have also been excited to work on this and like had your music going.
Hmm.
And it's hard when you're in the groove, right?
Yeah. And I think I was just like, I was so excited to show my PhD mentor, like, look what I did. We're getting this done so fast. And then he
Mhm.
was like, like, I hope you know I never put that pressure on you to do that.
um, it also, this story of like making the gloves also made me wonder if like it's ever hard to just stop in the middle of working on something.
Yeah, I feel like there are certain tasks, at least with that, I was like, "I just wanna get this done." Like,
Mhm.
I don't wanna have to just, like, get back in the groove of this, like, I just wanna get it all done in one piece, but I think there are I should have split that up into tasks because in the long run, even if sure, yeah, like, it would have been a little more time consuming because I would have split it up into different chunks. I think it would have been way better for my mental health and my physical health and well being. Um, so yeah, I think it's sometimes hard to gauge what the best decision is. Um, and yeah, I feel like I've probably noticed a little too late, and sometimes at least I've noticed in my peers as well. It's like it's best just to like rest is a strategy, sleeping is a strategy, like to help you reach your goal. Like it's not like, oh, I need to stay up late in order to get this done. It's like, no, a strategy I'm gonna take is I'm gonna go to bed and take care of myself and then wake up the morning and I can be even more productive, maybe get it done faster. Or if not, it's okay, but I'm at least gonna be in a better mindset. I'm gonna feel better and be able to perform better.
Yeah, I greatly value rest, and I feel like it's a hard sell. Um, what I mean by that, it's hard to communicate to people how profoundly powerful rest is. Um, there's a book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. There's a famous metaphor in there of like sharpen the saw. Have you ever heard that metaphor? It's basically okay. So there's a guy in the woods and he has a saw and he's trying to saw down a tree. He just keeps going, sawing down the tree, sawing down the tree, and he just keeps like exhausting himself going. And someone comes up and says, "Hey, like, why don't you just stop for a moment and like sharpen the saw because it's getting really dull because you just keep going." He's like, "No, I
Hmm.
just got to keep, sawing so I can chop down this tree or saw down this tree." So the metaphor there is like if you sharpen the saw, meaning if you pause and if you rest and if you sleep, you're sharper the next day. And there
Mhm.
is something about rest that sharpens us, that refines us, that restores us. And we're just able to kind of come to the table more as ourself when we wake up and have our next day, or when we wake up from a nap, even, right? I have glorious Sunday afternoon naps, Olivia. I just want you to know that.
I took one
Um,
today.
did you really? That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love
it was
it.
great.
See, glorious. Napping is amazing.
Mhm,
Yeah, we need more naps. It's got to be doubly hard in a field like STEM where people are very goal oriented. There are goals for completing projects. You're part of a team. You want to be that team player. You want to move the project forward. That I can feel the pressure of that as an industry as well. Um, but I also wondered in your story, it reminded me of sometimes when I'm really excited to work on something, I have a hard time hitting pause because I just want it to be done. And
mhm.
I've realized for myself that I actually struggle with patience. That the root of that is that I'm impatient and I just want it done
Totally
rather than
understand
like
that.
working on it in pieces over time actually
Mhm.
requires more patience from me. So that's something I've realized about myself. Yeah. So my goodness, I feel like we've talked about so many aspects of anxiety and ambition and um, where you're at right now. And I am really so excited for you that you're graduating soon. You have this amazing job lined up.
Thank you.
Um, and I know your schedule is very busy, so I don't want to take, more of your time here. But I have a final question that I tend to wrap up these interviews with. So I will ask you my final question. But before we get there, is there anything else that you want to make sure that we talk about, or anything else that you'd like to share?
I think just my major theme is just that I feel like I wish I could understood earlier is that passion doesn't protect you from burnout. And even if
Mm.
you're doing things that you love, you still need to check in on yourself every once in a while and understand not that you don't need to quit anything, but do you need to slow it down?
Passion doesn't, I'm writing this down. Passion doesn't protect you from burnout. And even if you are passionate about something, it doesn't mean, and you feel like you're burning out, it doesn't mean you have to quit,
Mhm.
but you might just need to slow down. Yeah. There's a few like images that come to mind when I hear you talk about that. One is with running, like I'm a runner, and a lot of people think that they get better at running by running really hard every time they run or going as fast as they can. That's actually the best strategy for burning out as a runner. So so most of the like running advice is you actually have to slow down um, to really have a positive impact on your heart and your lungs and like how you're developing as a runner. You have to slow down to sustain it over time, right? And then when I hear you talking about passion and how passion doesn't protect us from burnout, the image that comes to mind when I hear you talk about that is actually fire, because I think, well, I have a candle burning behind me, so that's convenient. But, when we have a campfire, we actually need boundaries around it, right? So we might need to have it in like a brick container. We might need to, I don't know, have it in a pit. I'm not a fire expert, but there's ways of building fire that make it sustainable and make sure that it's life giving rather than destructive. And that's what the image is that comes to mind when you say like passion doesn't protect us from burnout. Because if we build a fire and we just keep feeding it without any boundaries or parameters, that's when fire gets out of hand, right? And that's when fire gets destructive. Versus if we build something like a campfire or a contained fire, it gives us warmth, it gives us light, it gives us, I don't know, the ability to cook food. It's life giving rather than spreading in a way that burns and is destructive.
I really like that image.
Okay. Final question is, and we've already touched on this, but if you really had to summarize, like, what is something that you wish you knew when you were younger? Would you say it's what you just talked about, or is it something different?
Yes, I think
Okay.
it would be what I just talked about. It's like I knew you were gonna ask that question.
I know, I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's already, like, going right where I'm gonna go. We're on the same page here." Okay, say it one more time for us as we close out. What do you wish you knew when you were younger?
Yes, passion does not protect you from burnout.
Passion does not protect you from burnout.
And
Thank you
it's
for yeah.
also another thing I would say is I didn't need to quit, I needed to find my balance.
Mhm. Okay. Passion does not protect you from burnout, and you didn't need to quit, you needed to find your balance. Okay. Alright, well, Olivia, thank you so much for being with us here on the channel.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you enjoyed this conversation with Olivia. I know I had a lot of fun getting to talk with her, and I learned a lot as well from our conversation. I learn a lot from all of our guests that we have here. Um, if, like Olivia, you are struggling with, how do I have my passions but not burn out? How do I slow down? How do I prioritize? How do I kind of navigate anxiety as I go, whether that's throughout high school, throughout college, maybe even throughout grad school? We do have an anxiety program that you can check out. And as I said at the beginning of this video, the first step to learning more about our anxiety program is clicking the link in the pinned comment below or in the description. Share that link with your parents. It's a free training where they will learn 3 keys to helping you with anxiety, helping you move forward in your education and friendships and career. And they'll also learn more about our signature anxiety program in that free training so that they can discern whether it's a good fit for you and they can enroll you if it does seem like a good fit. You are also welcome to watch as a student, but full disclosure that I'm talking to parents in the training because they tend to be the ones who enroll you. So hope you enjoyed this conversation. And if you have any comments you'd like to share or questions, by all means, feel free to comment below. All right. Bye.